Wow, it's been a while. I forgot what you guys looked like. You don't look any different, you're the same. So happy to see you, everybody. I got back last night, just prior to that whole meltdown, computer miracle. And also, for that matter, just prior to the terrible drone attack that happened in Tel Aviv just yesterday as well. It feels as if sometimes that you just keep piling it on, and it makes you, there's a lot of feelings associated with it. Anger, frustration, sadness, too many feelings to properly articulate in just a moment. But what I thought I'd do is, or maybe not, because I thought I had it here, so I won't. Never mind. I thought I had a poem to read, but I'll do it maybe another time. But nonetheless, I'm so glad to have you here, and I'm so glad to be back with you, and I'm so glad that Cantor Snyder held down the fort while I was gone. And we begin our service with the lighting of the Shabbat candles, and that can be found on page 120. And so, let me light these candles.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And if you don't mind, page 123 now, we continue with Kiddush, page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'e kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim kivanu b'charta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu Baruch atah Adonai mikadesh haShabbat.
Well, I'm so glad not only to be back, but also being here. I have the joy of seeing some faces that who I don't recognize, and so welcome to those of you who are new to our congregation. And our service continues now on page 130 as we continue with Lechu Neranenah.
Lechu Neranenah, Yai Nai 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 Nai, L'Adonai, Yai Nai 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 Nai, page to the bottom of 132. Or Zarua. Or Zarua latzadi, ule Yisrael lev simcha. 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 Simchu tzadikim Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Simchu tzadikim Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kodsho. Or Zarua latzadi, ule Yisrael lev simcha. Or Zarua latzadi, ule Yisrael lev simcha. Kol Adonai echolel ayalot, vayechesof ye'arot, uvchecha lo kulo, omer kavod. Adonai lamabul yashav, vayeshav Adonai melech leolam. Adonai oz le'amo yitein. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom.
Amen. On the next page, which is 138, so we continue with Lecha Dodi, and you probably know this tradition of ours, but if you don't, let me tell you, we're going to do verses 1, 2, 5, and then 9, and when we get to the 9th verse, we're going to rise and face the entrance to greet the Sabbath bride. Point is 1, 2, 5, and 9, Lecha Dodi, page 138 and 139.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'litiva. Lecha Dodi, v'nikrat Kana, v'nei Shabbat, Lecha v'nah, likrat Shabbat, le'uven emna, Ihim b'kol haberacha lerosh mikeden, lirsuka sof ma'aseh, b'machshavat tefila lecha Dodi, likrat Kana, v'nei Shabbat, lecha v'nah. Itoreri, Iva Ori, Umi Ori, Uri Uri, Shir Naberi, Kevod Adonai, Allah Yechnikla, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kana, V'nei Shabbat, Lecha v'nah.
Please rise.
Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'b'tzola. Tov emudei, am tzivula, boi kala, boi kala.
remain standing. We're on page 146, Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai rai rai, yai rai 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 rai.
Please be seated. On 148 at the bottom of the page, blessed are you, Adonai, our God. Feel free to join me. Ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening.
Umavir yom umevi laila, umavdil ben yom uben laila, Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid imloch aleinu leolam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari v'aravim. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Torah u'mitzvot Chukim mishpatim Otanu limadeta Ki hem chayenu Ve'orech yameinu U'mahem יומם ולילה אהבת עולם בית ישראל אמרתה תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהיה יומם ולילה באהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמי ישראל.
So we are on page 152, the Shema, and please rise.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Okay, so we move forward to 158. That is our Song of the Sea, Mi Chamocha.
Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Torah te'ilo, Hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Eli anu ve'ameru Adonai imo ve'olam ba'en. Adonai et Yaakov, ugehalo miyad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai Ga'al Yisrael.
So 161. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will.
U'shemor tzeitenu vo'enu lechaim u'leshalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. Uferos aleinu sugat shalomecha, baruch ata Adonai, ha'poreh sugat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 162, our song of Shabbat, Shamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריתם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
All right, so our service continues with the tefillah, which is on page 164, and then 166, 168, and 170, and we'll try our best to tell you the page number as it's happening. But nonetheless, we start on 164 with Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. Please rise.
Adonai Sifatai Tiftach, Ufi Ani Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadadai, 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 Ata Adonai Eloheinu Velohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor VaNorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וחונן הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר מושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה כל עטרה והושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל.
170.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. So we're on page 173. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. So we continue with Shalom Rav, page 178. Thank you.
Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech gadol lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech gadol lechol hashalom. Lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Bechol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך, בשלומך. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Make of us a house for all people, gather us in hope for all people, surround us in peace for all people, in wholeness and in love. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amka, Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Baruch atah Adonai mevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom.
So it's been a little while. If there was one thing I was missing, was the opportunity to hear some of the things that are going on in your lives. I did feel a little disconnected to some degree, and I'm really glad to be back. And you know how it goes for us here. We like to begin this part of our service with talking about joyous things that we've experienced, at least somewhat recently. And so if you got joy that you want to share, tell me a little bit about it. And then maybe from time to time we can add a little Can Ye He. I know, by the way, that while I was gone, there was some altar. By the way, I watched all services, not live, because that would have been oppressive, right? I couldn't do it, but I watched them the next day, and then called Cantor Snyder afterwards to grade. No, I'm joking. But nonetheless, but please share some of the joyous things that have been going on with you, so I can hear a little bit about them and we can experience that joy together. Anybody? Cookie, you can start.
We missed a lot. With the good comes the bad. So we missed your 20, we missed Pam's Reaper's 95th, and obviously we missed a wedding that we didn't know about. But we had 5.5 weeks traveling through Europe. The best part of which was the week we spent visiting my family in Croatia, and we really reconnected with them this time. And now they want to come here and visit here, and they want us to come back there. So it's what's left of my mother's family.
Wow.
It's really
Bob, just out of curiosity, was that also the best part for you? Yes, it was. Good. I'm glad to hear that. There we go. Wise answer. I'm so glad, Cookie, that you had such a meaningful experience, both just traveling, but also reconnecting with your family. It's very meaningful. Wonderful. Tell me, more joy. Yeah.
My sister's 85th birthday is coming up this Thursday.
Wow.
She lives in Michigan, and we're going to go to Michigan to be with her.
Wow. So for reconnecting with family and travels and significant milestone birthdays, I think it's deserving. Join me. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? More joy? Noah?
I had such a joy. I got to spend 4 nights at camp
Oh.
last weekend.
Yeah.
SciTech,
SciTech, yeah?
that's right.
Nice.
I saw Judah. We hung out.
That's right. My son was their version of a CIT called a Machon CIT this year. It's really cool. Keep going. Sorry for interrupting you.
I'm just really glad that I got to be there for a few days. It was so joyful to be there for Shabbat, and I got to teach some song leading to some campers and take some weight off of my fellow sophomore shoulders. Very busy. So it was very nice.
Really beautiful. I'm so glad to hear that. Welcome back, but I'm so glad to hear you had a good experience. More joy, Karen.
This is my grandson's 6th birthday.
Mm.
And it's our 4-week anniversary.
Oh yeah, that counts. What's the? Is it silver or is it diamond? Which one is 4 weeks? I can't remember. A thing of Necco wafers is what you get for 4 weeks.
Several of us, Jim and I, and got to benefit from Laura's Mahjong instruction on Thursday.
Oh. Wow.
All good.
Fantastic. So what do we got? Mahjong and birthdays and real milestone anniversaries, going back to camp. Join me. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? More. Candy, go ahead.
We got to celebrate my grandson, his cousin's 8th birthday with my whole family. And it was wonderful this weekend.
Wow, that sounds great. Was that what you were about to say? No, what were you going to say?
I'm going to college in about a month.
Really?
So excited.
Now we're talking.
And I was just in Spain 2 weeks ago.
Yeah?
So a lot of joy.
To be in Spain?
Yeah.
Were you able to be in Spain without eating pork? That's all they have there is pork. Like, all they have is pork. Pork fish. that's the last vestige of anti-Semitism in Spain is this, well, that's how it started, and now it's how it continues. But I'm glad, welcome back, and sorry to see you leaving in a month, but glad to have you now. Tell me more, Joy, yeah.
It's our 20th wedding anniversary this week.
Really?
We're going to be going up to where I grew up, and then where she grew up.
Where's that?
Northeast Pennsylvania, and then down to Jersey Shore this week.
Wow. That's a nice 20th anniversary little treat. Yeah, so yeah, it's not 4 weeks or anything, but at least it's something, right? So anniversaries and birthdays and college, and that's a lot of joy. Let's join together. Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Can you hear? Anybody else want to share a little? Jim?
It's good to remember all of the joys that we've experienced, that all of us have experienced. I also am grateful for the joy of oblivion, the oblivion of the heat wave, the oblivion of troubles in France, troubles in the United States, crime and such. I don't know, but I've just ignored all of these for the last several weeks.
I don't know what to say about that, Jim. You know, love may be blind, but love doesn't make you blind. It has, nor deaf, but I get it. That's right. Tell me more, Joy. Anybody else want to share a little? I got one. Yes, I was in Israel, just got back last night. However, the first half of the trip was spending it with a group of people from our synagogue as we went on a mission to bear witness and to volunteer and to connect with our people. But the second half, or 2/3 even, was a program that I did called the Shalom Hartman Institute, which is a program for rabbis. It was created for the sake of giving rabbis both just kind of talk and study and discussion about relevant issues, and also just to nourish them with study and with opportunities to learn from really some of the thought leaders of our Jewish community. And I've always felt very rejuvenated after spending time in Israel in years past. This time, I feel that same type of rejuvenation, but also with just a freshness of thought and ideas. And it was anyone who's asked me about it, especially while I was there, I kind of ran out of words to describe just how meaningful it was and how valuable it was. So I had quite an experience, which I'm so grateful for, but more importantly, I rejoice because of kind of, you're here in Anne Arundel County. Rabbis don't really have, in Anne Arundel County, have too many people they could just go and take a class with. But here it's just one after the next, just thought leaders who were able to enrich me is so valuable and so meaningful. So I'm really pleased and joyous about that. Anybody else want to share? All right, Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim. We praise you, Adonai, our God, for partnering with us in the various joys that are in our lives. Amen. So along with the joys, of course, comes a recognition of struggle and pain. Loved ones of ours do not have a sense of wholeness, sense of completion, totality, because they're struggling either physically or emotionally, and we have a blessing that we say for them called Mishaberach, and our tradition here is that I'll start the blessing, and then halfway through I will pause and give you a chance to share any names that you wish of loved ones who are in need of healing. You can say loved one's name, you can say your own name if you want to. You can say that person's name in Hebrew or English, your choice. So let me share with you the beginning of this blessing. Misha Berach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. Those words mean, may the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Becca, Leah, and Rachel, Hu yivarech v'yirapet kol hacholim shelanu, may God bless and heal all of our loved ones who are in need of healing, especially the ones whom we name at this time. And so if you'd like to share a name, I'll just kind of gaze, and when my eye meets yours, please feel free to say the name. Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Bobby Wendell.
Thanks.
Mark Schallheim, Breezy Schallheim, David Maxine, Arston Jacqueline.
Thank you.
Corey Impure. Marvin Cosmo, Jenna Smith, and Donna Gelly.
Reva Kelly, Ruby Rosenfeld, and Biondi.
Thank you.
Brent Hare, Valerie Nichols.
Thank you. Just like to add also Allison Herman, Shoshana Rivka Batsipura, Joseph Basso. Vishlach bimheira refuah shalema, may God send them speedily a complete recovery. Refuah tanefesh v'refuah taguf, a healing of body and a healing of spirit. Betoch sha'ar cholei Yisrael, amongst all who are in need of healing. V'nomar amen. And let us say amen. So page 371, you find the words to Misha Berach.
Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBeracha Leimotenu, may the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We pause for a moment of silence.
Roma, uyase shalom, Aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yoshvei Tevel. Ve'imeru amen. Ve'imeru amen. Ve'imeru amen. Ve'imeru amen.
Nice. So, just a few words tonight. First of all, just kind of want to begin by just acknowledging this is the first Shabbat that Cantor Gabe Snyder and I are together with Cantor Gabe Snyder officially being part of Temple Beth Shalom. Officially, not certainly unofficially, we were many times, but since July 1st is typically the start date, and I had left a week prior, or a little bit more than a week prior, it's our first time together. And how lucky I am. I don't know if you remember previous summers, but we would have members of the congregation pitching in and filling in. Oftentimes it was Mary West, Merv out in the hallway as serving as an usher. She oftentimes led our service. And having Cantor Snyder here is a real joy. Now, you should know that that's not the only reason why I'm happy that Cantor Snyder is here. He, as you can imagine, did he smile or something behind me? I'm not turning. Okay. So he has also, whenever I need guitar assistance, he's always there to help. And one of the things that he's kind of taught me about is especially some of like the guitar tricks, which I don't really necessarily think about. So one of the tricks is instead of when you play a chord, for example, there are various different ways to make that chord. And one of the fun ways to do is oftentimes you can keep your hands in the same shape, but move your hands down the neck of the guitar, making different chords, but since it's but the same shape. It's kind of a fun way. He's kind of shown me that a handful of times. One of the songs that he does that for, which is always fun for me to watch, is Ma Tovu. Maybe you've you know this or that prayer. It's a morning prayer. It's every single bar mitzvah that we have here. I'm always kind of having fun watching him as he's moving his hands up and down the neck of the guitar in the same shape. It's always a lot of fun. Now, Ma Tovu, which I speak of, is in this week's Torah portion. And you might be thinking, wow, great job, Goldstein. You have just transitioned into the Torah portion for this Shabbat. And yes, I have, but I am not talking about Ma Tovu. I was just, but let me tell you, I am peripherally speaking about it. And the reason why is because Ma Tovu is what people commonly think to be essentially the culmination of a very interesting story of the Torah. Right? Now, the story of the Torah, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but it's about this guy named Balak, who is the king of Moab, and he sees the Israelites coming basically like a steamroller through the wilderness and heading to Moab, and he, Balak, the king of Moab, wants to put a curse on these Israelites to keep them from steamrolling him and his people. And so what does he do? He goes to this prophet Bilam, and he sends messengers, and there's some stuff that happens. I'm not going to go into all the details just because it's a great story, by the way. It really is, but I would end up spending 10 minutes talking about it, and it's just too much. But the upshot is that he keeps sending messengers back, and Bilam finally agrees to go and help Balak. But he insists by saying, look, I'll prophesy for you, but I can only say what God tells me to say. And as you can imagine, what is one of the things that he says? Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael, which means, how goodly are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. And Balak is a little frustrated because he was kind of hoping for a little bit more of a curse than that. That one was kind of a blessing. Just one last thought about Balak and Balaam is that it's funny. It's a great story because it includes an episode of a donkey who can talk. A talking donkey. And it's for like Shrek or a donkey from Shrek, but what's interesting about it is, and ironically about it is, one of my deepest frustrations about this Torah portion is Balaam has a donkey talking to him, and there's not one word about, wow, you're talking to me, donkey. He just goes on to have a conversation with the donkey like that's normal behavior. And I find it to be like the Torah kind of missed an opportunity just to at least acknowledge that the donkey's talking here and that's not normal. But let's put that to the side for the moment. And again, that's for you to read on your own. However, people think, and wrongly, that the expression by Bilam blessing the Israelites, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkanotecha Yisrael. People think that was the blessing that Bilam mentioned, but it wasn't, or it was, but it wasn't the only one. It was actually the third blessing, because the first time Bilam blesses instead of curses, and Balak says, "Come on, give me something better than that." And so then let's go to a different spot and do it again. And let's try again in various different spots. But in the first blessing, the moment when Bilam meets up with, and have I lost you yet? No? Can I explain this? So at the moment when Bilam gets to Balak and gives the first blessing, I say that I raised my voice at the, kind of lifted the octave of when I said blessing, with a question mark, kind of. And the reason why is because the first expression, which, by the way, Balak thought was a blessing, not a curse. The first blessing that was uttered by Bilam were these words. Am levadad yishkon, uvagoyim lo yitchashev. 6 words. Am levadad yishkon means they are a people who dwells alone. And then the second part, uvagoyim lo yitchashev, and the nations of the world give no thought to them. They are a people who dwell alone, and the nations of the world give no thought to them. Blessing or curse? Balak thought it was a blessing. But when we hear those words, you're a nation that dwells alone, in solitude, and the nations of the world give no thought to you. I don't know. There's a part of me, a big part of me, that maybe it sounds like a curse. And I say this because our experience over the course of Jewish history, starting with the exile after the first temple, when the expression that was given to us was Echa Yashva Badad, how this people sits in solitude and loneliness. And trust me, that wasn't meant as a good thing. And I think about the various times that we as a people have felt alone. And for that matter, not considered or thought about. I have my own list in the back of my mind. You probably have your own list too. Times in which we were pushed to the side, ignored, persecuted. Kishinev, Ukraine, Poland in 1942, and of course, Columbia University this past year, and the various other universities that followed suit. I felt very much alone over the last year. I have felt solitary. I have felt like no one was considering us, who we are, what type of people we are. Instead, we've been placed as the other, as the bad guy. And on many levels, that statement by Bilam, the prophet, when he said we would be a people, we are a people that dwells alone and that no one considers us. I'm now starting to hear that as the curse that Balak meant it to be, or hoped it would be. But there's the flip side. Balak thought it was a blessing. Maybe it was a blessing, or intended that way. You know, for 2 decades at least, I would say more, ever since Intifada, the second Intifada in Israel, I have said that the nation's mantra, the mantra of Israel has been and will continue to be, leave us alone. Just don't come. Leave us alone. Let us just be. We'll stay over here, you stay over there. We don't need to mix. Leave us alone. That's what we want. Maybe that was the blessing of Bilam when he said, this is a nation that's going to live in solitude. No one's going to consider you. In other words, they're not going to be thinking about you. They're not going to be pushing and inciting and harassing. Israel's not going to be on anyone's mind. They're just going to be left alone, solitary. That's a blessing. If halavai, as we say, if only that were the case, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just be left alone, just like Bilam said? That is a blessing. You know, there is this ridiculous misconception that Israel is this colonialist, imperialist nation. We just want to just live in peace. We accepted the partition plan in 1947, the 29th of November, which basically had Jerusalem completely cut off and which had this single one-lane road that went between Haifa and the Galilee. And we accepted this ridiculous partition plan because we just wanted to have a place to be left alone, just like Bilam said. And so then when you think about it, so now you're wondering, well, maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's a curse. Unclear what Bilam had in mind when he said that this would be a nation, an am levadad yishkon, v'goyim lo yitchashev, that this people would be dwelling alone and no one would be thinking about them. But then perhaps a third understanding, and considering the fact that one understanding is it's a blessing and the other one is it's a curse, I know what you're thinking. You're not exactly sure what the other possibility is, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. And that is maybe, and this actually comes from our modern or our ancient sources, which says that instead of reading it as alone, read the word badad as livadad yishkon, badad. Read it as unique. Don't read it as a nation dwells alone, but a nation dwells uniquely. In other words, it's not about solitude, it's about how we do things differently. And obviously, we know that we have different ways than other people. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that. But less thought about is how unique Israel is amongst its neighbors. Less considered is that. We are a nation that cares about liberalism and equality. And we are a nation that cares deeply about democracy. We may not necessarily like some of the things that are emerging from this democracy, but it's still a democracy. No one questions America's democracy when we don't like things that are happening in our democracy. We just get frustrated because we think that America should be better than that. But that doesn't mean we don't recognize that, that's the way a democracy works. We just don't like how the end product. Israel too. We may not like it, but it's a democracy. They may be trying to take away some of the rights and liberties in a democracy, but the very fact that they are doing so in a democratic way, we recognize is a democracy. I wonder what other democracies there are in that neck of the woods. Oh, right, none. None. And as Israel is being attacked on many different fronts, of course, we know about Gaza. Interestingly, Gaza is the least consequential front and threat to Israel right now. Gaza is important because we know we have hostages in Gaza. But that doesn't mean that Gaza is a threat, at least now. It's not. Tell you what is a threat. Hezbollah in the north, huge threat. Tell you what is a threat. The West Bank continuing to emerge in an angrier and angrier posture. They did a poll 2 weeks ago, and it concluded that within Gaza, support for Hamas has plummeted. Few support Hamas in Gaza, but where it's elevated and skyrocketed is in the West Bank, support for Hamas. That's another threat. And Yemen, just yesterday, sent drones not just at Israel, but at the heart of Israel, which is Tel Aviv. And not just at the heart of Tel Aviv, but 1 block away from the United States consulate, which once was the embassy, now the consulate, 1 block away, and did tremendous damage to a building 1 block away with casualties. What a message. That's being sent by Yemen. All of these people are fighting a proxy war for Iran. And it's clear to me that Iran does not care for liberal values. When I say liberal values, I'm not talking about American politics. I'm talking about values of equality, values of a person's right for freedom. Iran does not support such a thing, nor do any of its proxies, nor do any of our neighbors. And I tell you this because it becomes clear to me that the war that Israel is engaged in is not a war with Hamas. And it's not a war with Hezbollah. And I dare say it's not even a war with Iran. It's a war for our uniqueness in a neighborhood that does not like that type of uniqueness. It is a war against people who do not care about democracy or liberalism or pluralism or equality. It's a war of modernity versus non-modernity. And for that, you realize that this war is not just a just war, but it's a critically necessary war. And of course, I would gladly stop any war to get our hostages back. I do not have confidence in Hamas to release them, but I would certainly, for the sake of returning our hostages, I would gladly stop anything for that sense of shalom or that sense of wholeness. Because right now, Israel is not feeling shalom. Not peace, not about peace. Whole. We do not feel whole. And I hope and pray that the words of Bil'am, calling or acknowledging Israel and its uniqueness and having the peoples of the world not giving us thought, that would be a true blessing. And of course, I am just, as I always do, but having been in our precious homeland for a month now, or prior, just a little bit less, and seeing the faces of our hostages on posters everywhere. I even met with one of the hostages who had been released after 2 months. I hope that they all come back, because that is our people. If not our highest Jewish value and priority is the redemption and freeing of captives, then up there in the top 5. And there's a beautiful way to consider those loved ones who are still in captivity. And it's with the words of the blessing for redeeming captives. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, matir asurim. Amen.
Yay, day, 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 do. Yay, day, 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 do. Yay, day, 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 do. Yay, day, 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 do. Yay, diggy, day, diggy, day, yay, day, do. Ay, diggy, day, day, yay, day, do. Ay, diggy, day, diggy, day. Hey, day, do. ay, Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim matir asurim Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim matir asurim
$586, please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula leoser bereshit, shelo asanu k'goyei ha'arasot, v'lo samanu k'mishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'goraleinu k'kol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. This moment is a moment of sacred memory. Loved ones of ours are no longer with us, and we have a blessing that we say to remember them and to reassure us of God's presence even in the face of our loss. One person who we recognize who has passed away in the recent 30 days, the period of Shloshim, is Bob Schwartz, father of Becky Schwartz Corbett. And also these loved ones whose yahrzeits occur on this Shabbat. It's the anniversary of their passing. Adela Abramovitz, Fred Lafferman, Lois Resnick Sachs, Eva Rosenbaum Felt, Merle Fox, Thomas Heslin, Faith Gaber, Marion Sweet, Robert David Zipser, along with Rose Getz, David Howell, and Lucille Mangan. And so, in gratitude for their lives and linking their names with the rest of our loved ones who have passed away, we remember them now with the words of our mourner's prayer, which is called the Kaddish. It can be found on page 598. And if it's your custom, I invite you to please rise. Kaddish 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yalmad divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechal beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya yibarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei kudsha b'richu Le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiram b'yalma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mramav, hu yasei shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to every bereaved heart. Amen. Please be seated. Okay, so very quickly, because I know we've run over a little bit. Thank you so much to Jerry Falk and Merv Wiley Browse for serving as ushers. Thank you to Vered Mullen, because I know she made a bunch of challahs, which are for you to take, and awesome. Not to mention the fact that this challah right here is a Vered Mullen special, so we are very much looking forward to that. Handful of announcements. We have August 2nd, a 30-minute Shabbat family service with an ice cream truck for an Oneg Shabbat. I know, I am as enthusiastic as you are about this. We're having August 16th is a Oneg Shabbat welcoming Cantor Snyder officially into our community, the clergy community of our congregation. And then August 23rd is our Shabarbecue Zimra service. We did this last year, huge success. A lot of fun out there on the grill. Membership renewal has begun, and finally, Oneg Shabbat, we need your assistance. And we need someone for August 9th, it says. So if anyone wants to sign up, we would greatly appreciate it. And I'm only telling you without giving you exact information, but I do know that this community probably might be interested in this. And that is that probably starting maybe in 2 weeks or so, we are going to be offering an 8-part class online. You don't. It will be helpful to come to each one of them, but you don't have to. Twice a week, Sunday mornings probably, like around brunch time, and I think Wednesday early evening, maybe even dinner time around then. A great educator who was with us in Israel. His name is Uri Feinberg. He is a product of the Reform movement. His father was the dean of the Jerusalem campus when I was a student. He is offering a very worthy program, 8-part session on the history of Israel leading up until this modern moment. Modern Israel leading up to this modern moment. It is something which would be worthwhile for students, and something which will be worthwhile for students or adults who see themselves as students. It will obviously be on Zoom because he'll be broadcasting from Israel as he does so. But it's something which is a real special opportunity for us. And all of them will be recorded, but still, the more people who can just be on the Zoom, the better. So keep your eyes out for the specifics of this, because I think it's going to be something which is quite worthy, quite helpful. And as opposed to trying to do a crash course in all of this in one session, as I have tried to do on a number of occasions, it'll be something much more worthy to go into depth about it so you understand precisely what it means, what the circumstances were, what the issues were. So keep your eye out for this 8 8-part series having to do with the history of Israel, the modern history of Israel, probably starting with Theodor Herzl. So we won't be going back prior than Theodor Herzl, but moving to this very day and how it is that we've gotten to the place we are. All right, so we're going to be concluding with Adon Olam, which is on page 625. However, before that, we've been staring down this challah for a long time, and our opportunity to now finally eat some of this challah has finally arrived. So please join Baruch
atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat Shalom.
All right, Adon Olam 625.
Adon Olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ed nasa b'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu Ve'hu yeh b'tifara. Adon olam asher malach b'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ed nasa b'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra ve'acharei kichlot hakol levado yimloch nora ve'hu haya ve'hu yeh b'tifara. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, mevorach. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom u'mevorach.
Shabbat shalom to you all. Thank you so much for being here. And Shabbat Shalom to you all. B'terem kol yitzir nivra le'ed nasa b'chefzo kol azay melech shemo nikra.
Shabbat shalom. Welcome back. Wonderful. Thank you. Anything fun at camp? New stuff?
So much fun stuff.